എല്ലാവർക്കും നമസ്കാരം. നമ്മുടെ ഈ സെഷൻ പിന്നെ നമുക്ക് യാതൊരു പരിചയപ്പെടുത്തലും ആവശ്യമില്ലാത്ത ഒരു വ്യക്തിയാണ് നമ്മുടെ കൂടെയുള്ളത്. ഇപ്പോൾ ഇവിടെ ഇൻട്രൊഡക്ഷനായിട്ട് കുറച്ച് കാര്യങ്ങൾ പറഞ്ഞു. സത്യത്തിൽ അതിൻ്റെ ഒന്നും ആവശ്യമില്ല, ബൃന്ദ കാരാട്ട് എന്നൊരു പേര് മാത്രം മതി. അപ്പം നമ്മളിന്ന് സംസാരിക്കാൻ പോകുന്നത് സഖാവിൻ്റെ പുസ്തകത്തെ അധികരിച്ചുള്ള, അതായത് ഹിന്ദുത്വ ആൻഡ് വയലൻസ് അഗെയിൻസ്റ്റ് വിമൻ എന്ന പുസ്തകത്തെ അധികരിച്ചുള്ളൊരു ചർച്ചയാണ്. എങ്ങനെയാണ് ഇന്ത്യയിൽ ഹിന്ദുത്വ പ്രത്യയശാസ്ത്രം സ്ത്രീകൾക്ക് നേരെയുള്ള അക്രമങ്ങൾക്ക് ആശയാടിത്തറ ഉണ്ടാക്കുന്നത്, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അതിനെ ബലപ്പെടുത്തുന്നതിൽ, അതിനെ ആശയപരമായി ബലപ്പെടുത്തുന്നതിൽ, ഇപ്പോൾ സ്ത്രീകൾക്കെതിരായ അക്രമങ്ങളെ ഒരു കുറ്റകൃത്യമായി കാണുന്ന ഒരു ഫ്രെയിംവർക്കിൽ നിന്നും അതിനെ ഒരു തരത്തിൽ ആശയാധിഷ്ഠിതമായിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു സംഗതിയായി അതിനെ പരിവർത്തനപ്പെടുത്തിയിട്ടുള്ളത് എങ്ങനെയാണെന്നുള്ളൊരു ആർഗ്യുമെൻ്റാണ് ആ പുസ്തകത്തിൽ അവർ മുന്നോട്ട് വയ്ക്കുന്നത്. അത് കത്വ റേപ്പ് സംഭവം, ഹത്രാസ് സംഭവം, അതുപോലെയുള്ള ഗുജറാത്തിൽ സ്ത്രീകൾക്ക് നേരെ നടന്നിട്ടുള്ള അക്രമങ്ങൾ, ഇങ്ങനെ നിരവധി ഉദാഹരണങ്ങളിലൂടെയാണ് അത്തരത്തിൽ അവർ ആ പുസ്തകത്തിൽ അങ്ങനെ ഒരു ആർഗ്യുമെൻറ്റ് മുന്നോട്ട് വയ്ക്കുന്നത്. അപ്പോൾ അതാണ് നമ്മളുടെ ഇന്നത്തെ ചർച്ചാ വിഷയം. Thank you for joining us. I was explaining briefly what your book is on. So basically, when I went through the book, in fact, I was shocked to know something that, of course, we all know that Hindutva is providing a kind of, foundation, ideological foundation to the violence, the gender-based violence, as you argue in your book. But a few things that I was actually shocked to know that, I think I should start with that. When we talk about this, the incident in Kashmir, that rape in Kashmir, you have written that even the victim was selected so deliberately. Like it was more than a sexual crime, it was an act to scare away the Muslims in the locality, and also it was it was an example of how the gender-based violence is communalized. We know a lot of things about that incident, how it happened and all, but beyond that, there were a lot of protests, and these people even protested against the arrest of these men, and all those things were very, very much organized. So can you explain a little bit? Can we start from that point?
Thank you. We can certainly start from that point, which is a point in which I believe that today the processes of justice and the way society is being driven to look at even the most horrific cases of rape are often determined by the community of the victim and the community of the perpetrator. See, my point in this book is that it's not as though violence against women and the most barbaric incidents of violence against women have not occurred before. What I'm trying to understand is the new framework in which we find ourselves because of certain political factors which are determining the environment in which women fight for justice, fight for security. And in that, what is new in the situation today, in what I describe as the new ecosystem, which is a favorite phrase of those in power in Delhi today, what I am trying to describe is the theoretical, ideological, and political framework in which we as activists find ourselves. And therefore, the incident you refer to in Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir, against a young tribal child is illustrative of this new kind of politics in which women activists have to fight for justice. So basically, what I argue in this book, firstly, that we do not equate Hindutva and faith. So I'm not at all in this book equating Hindutva, which I believe is a very political concept with a political aim, with the faith of those who believe in Hindu Dharam. So the first point I make is the difference between Hindutva and faith.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, it's actually very important to
Yes.
distinguish between faith and Hindutva.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that point?
Yes, I can, because our country is a country in which women particularly believe and have deep beliefs in different religions. They believe and they see it as something which enables them to deal with so many aspects of day-to-day life. And this faith often brings a lot of strength to individuals. I may or may not believe in any faith. As a matter of fact, I don't. But I respect that faith of individuals which help them in so many ways in their individual lives, in their personal grief, or whatever the personal challenges they have, or whatever their relationships may be with the God or the belief that they owe allegiance to. But the point today is that that belief, which according to believers should be pure and sacred, that belief becomes totally polluted when you utilize that belief as a political instrument to subvert not only constitutional and legal guarantees, but to impose ideologies which are deeply, deeply disturbing because of how they portray women and what women are supposed to do. The autonomy of my body, the rights I have over my own body, the rights I have as an independent citizen of a country which has given me that right. So if narrations are sought to be distorted in the name of faith, I really strongly believe this, that this is the greatest insult to believers, because their belief is being manipulated for something so entirely different.
Yeah, I'm happy to listen to you on this. At least now we started distinguishing between faith and Hindutva. But don't you think that we should have started it earlier? I think we were confused on how to touch faith. It's actually very blurred. It is very difficult to draw a line. So, and there are a lot of things that left untouched by the left and also all other secular forces. So don't you think that we should have started doing it earlier? For example, I would cite you an example. Take the example of Shabarimala. When this whole controversy around Shabarimala happened, we saw thousands of women coming on the street protesting against the Supreme Court judgment. So isn't it a failure of the secular forces, not only the left, but everybody's failure to address certain things like, so for example, the apartheid on menstruation, the menstruating women are impure. We have never challenged such beliefs. We always left it to this gray area of faith. Don't you think that it was a mistake?
No, I don't think it was a mistake at all, because we were just implementing the court decisions.
No, I am asking, we never addressed such issues before.
No, I think we always have, and especially a state like Kerala, which is such a wonderful example for the whole country, because Kerala has been the center of social reform. So Kerala has a history of distinguishing between religion and religious faith, and what is so irreligious about certain rituals which are based in such exploitation, social exploitation. So I think the experience of Kerala is something which should enlighten the rest of the country, because right from the beginning, there has always been a distinguishing between faith and the utilization of faith, and also social reform within that faith. So we do have a history of it. I mean, there may be weaknesses. I don't think anything can be achieved without understanding and overcoming one's weakness. So I take your criticism as you have made it, and the intention behind that criticism. But I must say that today it's gone far beyond that. I don't think ever in India, ever, in our entire experience, and I'm focusing this only on my one issue of violence against women, because it's such a huge canvas. But I'm focused as a woman. We have fought so hard, so bitterly, and so long for autonomy. Just a simple thing of choice. And we fought. We have a set of laws which are perhaps some of the best in the world. How did that happen? Because of our fight, our struggle, our commitment, our unity. We have got anti-rape laws which are good. But what is happening today? Today, according to my analysis, we see two trends. We see a general atmosphere of majoritarianism. And in that majoritarianism, we have a communal majoritarianism which is targeted against minorities. But don't think that those who are believers in the Hindu Dharam get away. No. We have Manuvadi majoritarianism. We have a regressive ideology which shows women their place. So, I have in this book given so many illustrations, Shahina, in which women across caste and community are impacted and affected. For example, if the perpetrator of rape happens to belong to a minority community, please look at the reporting about that. Please look at the ecosystem of those in power at the center and their leaders about that. They will just go to town, as they should. But supposing the perpetrator of rape and the victim of rape belong to the majority religion, then it is the woman who is blamed. She is shamed. Why were you there at that time? Why were you wearing such clothes? Why did your parents allow you out? I have quoted in this book about a top leader of the BJP saying Sita was punished because she did not obey the Lakshman Rekha which was set out for her.
Yeah,
these are not my words, Shahina.
Yeah, this is actually a very interesting argument here that you put in your book. Like, I also started thinking about it in this way. There are two types of rape for this Manuvadi majoritarianism people. And also, like, what is very interesting in your book is like you establish how the violence on women, the gender-based violence, is given an ideological foundation.
Yes.
Yeah. Apart from a crime which is recorded under the Crime Records Bureau, it is given an ideological foundation. Can you elaborate on that point?
Well, I think, again, there are two aspects of it. You know, generally we consider that right-wing politics sees women only as passive spectators. But here across the world, you will find that, I think, learning, ironically, from women's movements and the assertion of women, you find across the world right-wing politics which do not see the independence of women as critical for democracy. You find women in the leadership, you find women being promoted, you find women as the instruments or the vehicles of the most outrageous, anti-democratic, I would even say fascistic statements. So one aspect of the ideology is how to use women as conveyors of hate politics. And this also questions a brand of feminist politics which sees the binary only as male versus female and not in a political socio-economic context. So, just because I'm a woman doesn't make me necessarily biologically tuned to be gender sensitive. I can be most insensitive. So, the politics of Hindutva, on the one hand, its ideology promotes hate politics and conveys of hate politics through women. I don't want to go and, you know what Pragya Thakur did, you know what Sadhavi Ritambara did. Fortunately, they're far away from you in Kerala, so you don't get to see them as often as we had. But anyway, leave that aside. But I do want to say, Shahina, the other aspect, a woman's autonomy or a woman's right to be her own person. I've given a figure in this book. In the last 10 years, around 65,000 women have been burned to death for dowry. Now, last 10 years, that's more than all the soldiers killed in any battle India has, or all the battles India has fought. 65,000. And that's an underestimate. Have you ever heard the ruling ecosystem ever have a campaign against dowry? We have heard about love jihad, when adults have a consensual relationship across communities, which love is criminalized. Love is criminalized. But have you ever heard that ecosystem ever fight against a war against dowry? Never. Why? Because that is part of the adjustment of the ideal woman in the ideal sanskar.
It's very
of that
selective
ecosystem.
for them. It's very selective. Yeah. See, as a feminist, I mean, it's often intriguing to me to understand the way they use feminism as an ideology, how they use the terminology of feminism, how they use the tools of feminism. Initially, it was an outright rejection, but for the past few years, they are actually adapting feminism, and they create terms like Nari Shakti, and the very idea of women empowerment is used to promote very regressive ideas. As feminists, as progressive people, how do we address it?
Well, that's an interesting question, because we have found that many of our festivals which we celebrate are turned into commercial events. I mean, International Women's Day, for example. I mean, today, International Women's Day is very far away from the huge mobilizations of women for basic rights, and it has become a kind of a commercial. Help your wife by getting her a washing machine. Lighten your wife's domestic burden, not by helping her, but by getting a dishwasher. So we have seen how capitalism in general tries to hijack popular festivals of resistance to cater to their own needs. And now we see a new kind of hijacking of slogans of women's movements, of women's resistance, of women's sacrifices for a completely different aim, as Shahina says. So I think that also encourages us to be more ideological in our approach to women's rights. You know, we were always told, "Arey, why are you talking about things which are not concerning women? Why are you talking about government policy about..." Yeah, we are talking about government policy because it impacts us as women, as citizens in a very special way. So I think one of the aspects of neoliberal era that we are in is to depoliticize the entire environment. So when you have a space of depoliticization, particularly among the younger generation who are fed the neoliberal ideology, me, what you can do, how you can achieve, the great achiever. Listen, you are where you are because of the collective struggle of women all over the world. So that is wiped out. That is not part of history anymore. So I think in answer to your question, be more political, not party political, but be more political, be more ideological. I think that's where we need to put women's rights.
I always have a doubt regarding, so I think this is a best opportunity to ask you. Suppose a woman or a group of women belonging to a right-wing party, a Hindutva party, is raising a complaint that they are not giving adequate representation within the party. How do we respond to that? Do we support that women in public? Or what is this ideological foundation of we people in responding to such situation?
No, I think it's a very genuine demand. I mean, when, for example, we raise the issue of women's reservations. Why do we raise the issue of women's reservations? Because it's not just women who are going to benefit, it's the entire democratic system. So it's a wider democratic right when you have a group of people who are kept out of public office or decision-making bodies because they are women. And we have seen the huge difference when you have 1/3 reservation for women. There are many right-wing women who are there, but the question is, you cannot have democracy when it is so linked to male representation. So this is a general demand, whether it is the CPIM or whether it is the BJP, we want more women.
But
you have to fight their politics. See, it's only a very biological essentialist, you know what I mean by biological essentialism? I started with that, saying there are some people who believe because I'm a woman, I'm a feminist. No, that's not true. It's an ideological thing.
Yeah, but who are these women is the question. They are the women who call for raping Muslim women, like, women like Pragya Singh Thakur or so. For me, it's very confusing how to support these women and this argument. And also,
I can understand you. I can understand that. But the fact of the matter is, generally, as a general democratic principle,
it is applicable to the left parties too.
As a general democratic principle, more women in politics is not because we want more women in right-wing politics. But it's a general step which smashes the patriarchal understanding that women are only supposed to be at home cooking and minding the children and the kitchen. So this is a more general idea that we have, that you have more and more. No, I mean, so I would rather that we look at it as a more general impact on social relations in which there is still such a large section of our people who really strongly believe that a woman's place is in her home, only in her home. I mean, if I choose to be at home, that's my right. That's different.
Yeah, when we come to the larger society and when we address the gender-based violence in general, this is a time that we discuss. There are a lot of debates around workplace harassment, POSH Act, and also like the Me Too movement is there. So this is an era in which there is a greater level of understanding about the rights of women, sexual crimes, gender-based violence and all. So my question is, we all stand for POSH Act. We all stand for the need for creating committees in all institutions to address workplace harassment. So my question is, isn't it applicable to political parties? Because I'm asking this because what is the platform for the political parties to address the kind of complaints being raised by the women within the party? We often see that such complaints are being hushed up, whichever party it is. All parties are doing the same. The complaints are being addressed within the party, and suddenly the argument turns like this is our internal matter. So do you think it's fair?
Well, I'd just like to tell you in the audience who don't know, POSH refers to the Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act at the workplace. And this came about because of a very important case of an Anganwadi helper in Rajasthan who went to the courts because she faced gang rape actually. And so then there was a committee formed and the court gave these guidelines. And let me tell you, it took 13 years of hard battle to get this act implemented, to get it legislated, because companies didn't want it at all. My party, which is the CPIM, is today the only party in the whole of India which has voluntarily put the POSH Act in our constitution. So, 2 party congresses ago, we made an amendment to the constitution, and this is the first time because POSH is an act which also has many, many weaknesses. In 2 or 3 clauses, it actually exonerates. So, I mean, it's sort of like a double-edged sword, but the basic aspect of POSH, that a girl in a working place who does not want to go the criminal justice way, because very often in the criminal justice system, if a man makes a sexist comment in front of me, it's really not considered a crime much. And you spend 3 years in court and, you know, it's a bailable issue. So many women who face sexism at the workplace find it not worth it to go through the criminal justice system. So this is an alternative for those who don't want to go to court. So the CPIM said, in such cases, we have to have it in our own party. The Kerala High Court was hearing a petition, and the Kerala High Court said, no, POSH does not apply to political parties. So every other political party welcomed that judgment and said, yes, we have our own, as you said, internal ways of dealing with it. But in our party, we have applied POSH, and we have now internal committees at almost every state committee level, and depending on the numbers of, the membership, we have a district committee level also. But yes, it is a process to get rid of sexism in public life.
Yeah, it's very interesting to know. Like, I never knew that. It's something new to me. And also, then in this context, I also wanted to know what's the position taken by CPIM or CPIM's position or IDWA's position on Me Too movement? Like whether there is, you have how to approach Me Too movement. What's your stand?
I think it was an expression all over the world of suppressed and oppressed feelings of so much personal injustice and indignity. And when it broke, it had a huge impact.
CPIM has a mechanism to address the sexual harassment complaints within the party, but still what we see is hushing up such complaints that this is our internal matter. It happens with every party. That is the point that I wanted to raise. And concluding this discussion, my last question is, where does the left stand today in India? Despite having very little presence in the parliament, despite having only 1 or 2 states in power, left had a very significant role in shaping up the political policies of the country, because many of the major public institutions were governed by individuals who had left ideology, who were left lenient, who were secular. But that is changing. There is a fundamental shift in that too. Lot of right-wing people are now they are taking up the positions in such public institutions, and the voice of the left is diminishing. So where does the left stand today, and when you look forward, what's the future?
The left stands firm. The left will not compromise. I think that is our strength. Parliament, yes, you're right. We have faced severe setbacks, but that only gives us more energy to look at ourselves, to find out our own weaknesses, and to go forward. And I strongly believe that the left, despite the huge attacks on the left, despite the discrimination against left intellectuals in so many states of India, including the centralization process which is happening by the forces in Delhi to even appoint vice chancellors of state universities who their main qualification will be obedience to a particular ideology. So there are objective barriers, but I think the strength of our belief, our ideology, and the lacks of young, committed people of the left to take it forward, you won't see us stepping back.
Yeah, but this
you
is
will
an
see
idea.
us going forward.
Yeah,
no,
but
it's happening.
What is the
After all-
plan, action plan?
Now, you don't want me to, to bore your audience with the action plan.
No,
but
not
will-
action plan, but strategy. Like, we talked about how Hindutva is, building an ideological framework for gender-based violence and how the entire country is being saffronized. So my question is, how to deal with it? What are the alternatives?
To deal with it, Shahina, to deal with it, you need clarity of your ideology, you need the strength to organize, and you need the courage to fight back. And you need a strategy which will include all sections of people who are prepared to fight along with you, even if you go 2 steps out of a 10-step race. Those 2 steps will gather more strength for the rest of those who are running till the end. So I think unity, flexible approach to have broad platforms of different sections of the people, starting from the rural poor, those who are most oppressed and whose voices we seldom hear. We seldom hear the voice of a Manrega woman worker who lifts 2,500 kilos of mud a day. A day. I've calculated it at a Manrega site. Just to earn 250 or 300 rupees a month and to get her family to survive. We need those voices too. We need to look at what's happening to the poor in our country, to the working class in our country. So I think a combination of a series of joint platforms for different sections of society is an essential key to our strategy. And I hope many of you here in Kerala will always remember, whatever our criticisms may be, remember that in Kerala, you have developed a state which is the representative and the symbol of pluralism in India. That is what Kerala is, apart from all the progressive ideas of social reform. You are a pluralistic society, standing so tall. Don't give that up. Don't let anybody take that away from you. And thank you so much for coming here on a working day in the morning to join this conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, now if there are questions, we can, now it is time to open the floor for questions. And before that, I just wanted to add one point to what Comrade Brinda said. When we say that Kerala is very pluralistic, indeed it is very pluralistic from the right beginning, but we have to see that pluralism include RSS too. Kerala is the state having the largest number of RSS shakhas in India. So that is there, we have to see that too. So that contradictions are always there. So the question is how to address these contradictions and how to deal with this increasing saffronization within the cultural, realm. So that is something that we have to think about. Now this is time for questions. So മലയാളത്തിൽ ചോദിക്കാം, ട്രാൻസ്ലേറ്റ് ചെയ്യാം.
Hi. So you've talked about how the Hindutva has sort of made Nari Shakti and sort of those things into, building it into its own fold. So I want to talk about how they've used feminism in terms of how they've talked about Muslim women, as in like triple talaq and all of these things, where they think that Muslim women are especially oppressed more than any other people because they're Muslim, and therefore sort of take away the freedom and choice and opinions of those women from them, and sort of think like, oh no, we know better than any Muslim women, and that, that sort of like
I mean, I think that's one of the most objectionable aspects of their ideology, that they think they know better than women themselves. I mean, they do that with women across the board. But the reason they do that, particularly with Muslim women, is because the whole part of that ideology is to demonize Muslim men. So to demonize Muslim men, you have two aspects. One, to consider all Muslim men as sexual oppressors, both with other communities and within their own community. So with other communities, I've already spoken about the issue of communal majoritarianism. But that aspect of using Muslim women, or the fight for Muslim women within their own community for their rights, is often used and misused by the ecosystem. So often what happens is, a woman who wants to exercise her choice within the community framework often gets used, and therefore if she believes she's getting used, she stops her resistance within the community. So it's a very double-edged sword for Muslim women. And therefore, I salute the courage of Muslim women's platforms, which are not only taking on the Hindutva forces, as all of us are, but often they have to take on fundamentalists within their own community who refuse to accept the requirement of reform. And I think this is very burdensome. It's a social burden on a thinking woman. Why should I have to think twice or thrice before I express my opinion? That is that environment of majoritarianism, which is so deeply going into the heart of India. They may lose votes, but that ideology is creating its own horrible, toxic path into social relations. And there's no doubt of it that solidarity at every level could be an answer to this reality. Thank you for that question. It's a wonderful question.
Other questions?
Hello. So I wanted to add to Shahina's question earlier. So I know it's unfair to ask you. I and Shahina always discuss about this because women leaders should not be held accountable for what a collective, a party does. Because, in America, Donald Trump has won his election. And when he won that day, the whole social media was filled with hashtags like "Go back to kitchen" to the women. I mean, right-wing Americans were...
Go back to?
Kitchen. Go back to kitchen. I mean, that's what Americans did. Right-wing Americans, they suddenly, when Donald Trump won, they felt empowered, and they wanted women to go back to kitchen. They know that they are going back to fascism. So the same thing has been happening in India, like in terms of the, Hindutva majoritarian politics. So this is a cycle. We all know that this right wing, then a renaissance movement, then back to progressive thinking, and again back to right thing. In between those progressive movements, was the chance probably for women leaders to come up. It is so unfortunate that in a progressive state like Kerala, even a party like CPIM so far has not got any district secretaries who are women. So when can we expect that?
Before answering that question, let me say a point.
I'm very happy to learn that the audience is so supportive of that we have more women in, thank you very much for that. And the more public support you give, the more likely it is that political parties across the spectrum listen to you. And personally, my own opinion is that we have the most wonderful leaders in my party, women leaders. And certainly, now we have, Shahina, this is something else we should know, we have now made a constitutional change to ensure that there are more women in the party, more women at every level. So I think in the next couple of years, you will see the change, and maybe somebody else who will be here on the stage representing my party will be able to tell you how many district secretaries we have who are women.
That's wonderful.
And thank you for that. Thank you.
There is one thing. There are a lot of...
Go ahead. I'm here to listen to you.
Yeah. There are a lot of women in the local level, within CPIM, who has become local secretaries and also... And
Thank you, Shahina.
I didn't ask this question, which was very deliberate, because I have taken the decision that I would never ask this question to a woman leader. I would rather ask this question to Pinarayi Vijayan or MV Govinda Marshal, not to Brinda Karat or not to KK Shailaja anymore. That is my personal choice.
Well,
any other question?
Anybody who wants to ask me, I believe if we want equal rights, we have to take equal responsibility. So I'm prepared to answer any question you want.
Hello, ma'am. Hello, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay. So I would like to know something about your party and your ideology, how it is going to unfold. Closely I am following and I am getting it. There was a time your party was a pan-India party and you were having presence in many states. Now it is shrinked and it is limited to only Kerala. And at the same time I got it, you fought for egalitarian society, equality, and you fought against injustice, environment protection. And I got the sense in many aspects, in many effort, you got success. But the way the party is dwindling and the presence is getting limited, a citizen like me are very worried and concerned. So I just want to know what is your ideology and how you are going to revival the party, how you are going to restructure your plan. Because I have seen number of MPs, number of MLAs, number of politicians, they are getting down year after year. And at the same time, I think when you are having any idea in India, direct fighting with the Hindutva force or communist force, you are the one voice throughout the India. Sometime I have found even Congress is compromising.
Please brief, make it brief.
I'm coming. Sometime I found Congress is compromising with some sort of ideas, but you are open and you are clear. But same time we are having concern. Your political presence is getting down. How you are going to revive? Just.
Thank you so much for your concern, sir. Because it is certainly a matter of concern if the left gets weak, as we are in parliament and in electoral politics. It is a concern. And it concerns people just like you, sensitive to the situation, and definitely us. So one of the big issues is how to transform public support into votes. And that is a gap that is getting bigger and bigger. Because we're finding that in all our mobilizations and the issues we raise, whether it's among different communities, we are getting that support, coming out to fight something and sometimes winning also, winning the battle. For example, the labor codes, we fought it. And now the government has not even made the rules for the labor codes. But we fought it. But to transfer that's a tough one.
I think
especially with electoral bonds. And the CPM being the one party which didn't take a paisa from Adani Ambani. But it's tough. But yeah, it's a matter of concern, sir. We are also concerned. And our own weaknesses. we have to overcome, no doubt about it. Thank you for your concern.
We have time for only 2 more questions. Make it brief, please.
Madam, just...
1 second. She was actually raising hand much earlier.
And what should I do? What should I do? Am I to wait or am I to...
No.
Then what do you mean?
No,
What do
no,
you
it's
say?
fine. Yeah, you go ahead.
I just started. Even then
No,
you are telling that
no,
she
as a
raised her
moderator,
hand.
I have to be fair. That's why, because she was raising her hand before. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Ma'am, I am really, to be frank with you at the outset, I tell you that I am a sympathizer of the left movement and especially of the CPIM for the past 50 years. No, more than that even. I am but now a little bit disappointed because of the internal developments that are happening in our party. For example, there is a vast difference between the higher persons who are at the helm of affairs like you and from the grassroots level. Because the grassroots level people even are not so much enlightened about what the ideological obligations that they have to do for the society. They are not aware. They are aware that it is because power is there and to have association with the power is their motive. As I read it, maybe I am wrong or right, I don't know. Just of course, I don't say that I am telling whatever things are right. But of course, I just want to share with you that my anguish. I am repeating the word that the anguish that I feel from the developments that happen in our party. First of all. Second question that I should ask to you is, you were telling that the woman, whenever a woman is exposed to an exploitation, especially about sexual harassment, either in workplace or outside in this, wherever be it. The thing is, ultimate reality is that she is not going to get any justice because our judicial system is so dragging and it is not at all having any helpful attitude towards those issues. So even into that issue even, we didn't give him so much. The left movement is actually the responsible, institution to attend to all those things. But we make lip services, but still the boat is on the same shore. It doesn't make any move. That is my opinion. Whether you disagree or agree, I don't know. Thank you.
Sir, you have shared your opinions, and I take that opinion very seriously. I don't think there's much for me to answer in that, except to appreciate the fact that you have been a supporter of the left for 50 years. And if we are doing things wrong and you are expressing them, we accept that with all humility and modesty. And let us hope that in the course of our own struggles, we will improve ourselves and be worthy of your trust. Thank you.
One more question.
Ma'am, and you talked about the difference between religious faith and you talked about the difference between the religious faith and Hindutva, and we were talking about the pluralistic society in Kerala, and we know that Kerala is one of the states which have got highest women education. At the same time, and we are moving to, especially the women in Kerala, are moving to towards Hindutva a bit. What may be the reasons?
Sorry, what is the last part of the question?
But at the same time, many women are moving towards the Hindutva ideology in Kerala. What may be the reasons?
Many women are shifting to Hindutva ideology.
I'm sure that the different trends, which are political trends developing in Kerala, if it impacts, as it does, the history of social reform and progress in Kerala, I think it is not just the responsibility of one political party or one movement, but all of us together to fight that. Because as I said, the preservation of the roots of what Kerala society represents is so valuable for all of us across India, that people who come here and see a festival like this, so many people involved of all communities, you will never find this anywhere. So Kerala is worth defending, and as much as we as a political party want to defend it, I think the strength in Kerala ultimately lies, as it does in the rest of India, but more so here, in we the people of Kerala and we the people of India. And on the 71st anniversary of our constitution, which is going to be celebrated in Delhi, I think we take pride in the fact that it is we the people of India, not we the people of this or that religion, who are citizens and proud patriots. So, it's we the people of Kerala, we the people of India, who are there to defend the gates of India from the barbarians who want to get in. So thank you very much to all of you, and thank you for your patience. And Shahina was just absolutely top, as usual.
Thank you for such an insightful discussion. And it doesn't really matter whether you belong to a political party like CPIM or CPI. We are all part of the same spectrum. We all belong to the tribe of people who stand for secularism, democracy, and we are all concerned about the future of this nation. So in that sense, we are all part of the same spectrum. So thank you. Thanks a lot for joining us today and for this insightful conversation. Thank you. And thank you for all the very vibrant questions too.
Thank you very much.